feel like I might get really annoyed with this off the shoulder situation, but ugh. Hello you guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm very excited for today's video. It is going to be my year-end empties for the year of 2025. So today I'm going to be sharing with you all of the makeup products that I emptied out this past year, and I'm really excited to say I had 73 makeup empties this year. That being said, this is my lowest year of empties in the last like 5 to 7 years. Typically, I aim for over 100 makeup empties. Last year, I was at 77, and this year, I'm at 73. The caveat to that is I did find out in July that I am expecting, and it has been a tough road to get myself to like want to get ready. At least the first trimester was really rough. I'm definitely like feeling more like myself again, although now we're entering the third trimester and things are just so uncomfortable. Anyway, it was just a weird year in terms of makeup consumption for me, and I'll be really curious to see what 2026 brings. So if you're interested in seeing all of the makeup products that I used up in 2025, as well as hearing my speed reviews on everything now that they are true empties, stay tuned. First, if you have yet to subscribe to my channel and you like project planning content, palette themed content, or just hanging out and chit-chatting about makeup, I'd love if you'd consider subscribing before moving on. And other than that, let's jump into the video. All right, you guys, my makeup has been on for well over 10 hours at this point in time, and I also had to do my 3-hour glucose test today because yes, I did fail the first one. If you know, you know. I did pass this one, so I do not have gestational diabetes, thank goodness. But please don't judge the makeup and judge the face. I'm quickly going to do a quick overhead shot of all of my makeup empties so you can kind of see how many different empties I have per category, and then you get this lovely 10-hour makeup face throughout the rest of the video to share my speed reviews on everything. Here is an overview of all of the empties that I have for the year. So as you can see, we've got 4 foundations, 2 blushes, 3 concealers, 1 color corrector, 2 bronzers, 1 cream, 1 powder, 7 primers, 3 eyeliners, 6 setting sprays, 2 eyeshadow primers, 9 mascaras, 2 highlighters, both of them being cream highlighters, 9 lip balms, 3 lip oils, 2 liquid lipsticks, 2 lip liners, 1 lip scrub, 8 brow products, 3 powders, and 5 lip glosses. I think the category that surprised me the most in terms of empties this year was lip gloss. I love lip gloss. I am a lip gloss girly at heart. And so to only have 5 lip gloss empties makes my heart kind of sad. Although I will say there are 2 lip glosses that I am literally so close to finishing up. So we are gonna be kicking off 2026 strong with some gloss empties. Don't fear. I just have everything kind of sitting around me right now. So I think I'm just gonna go, maybe I'll just kind of go in order that I would do my face. So we're gonna start off with a strong category. We're gonna start off with primers. I am someone who does love to use a primer every single time that I do my makeup. My favorite type of primer I have found is a gripping primer, because usually what I'm looking for out of a primer is that is going to make my makeup last longer. I am 34, I do have dry skin. And I definitely probably could use a moisturizing primer too, or just, you know, better moisture in the morning, or I could drink more water or just have a better skincare routine. But I'm not typically looking for like hydration out of my primer. The only other thing I would potentially be looking for is a pore filling primer, which I don't think I have any pore filling primers this year. Anyway, let's get into all my primer empties. So I do have 7 primer empties, and actually 2 of the primers that are empties are primers that I purchased and used up this year. So the first one is the Milk Hydra Grip and Glow primer. I purchased this during the Sephora spring sale and I finished it up this year. I did enjoy this one, although I'm not seeking to repurchase this. I have mentioned in the past on my channel that with this like golden glowy primer, I found that certain areas of my skin, like it was kind of patchy. Like certain areas would be a lot more glowy or golden or sparkly, and then like other areas weren't as golden glowy, and I really enjoyed reaching for this in the summer. Sometimes I wouldn't even wear like foundation over top, so to have it kind of blend out in that like patchy way just wasn't the best. I still really enjoyed reaching for this, and a tinted moisturizer was also really beautiful over top of this. It does have a nice grip to it, but I prefer to pay a little less. Personally, I like the e.l.f. gripping primers are like my favorite and the most affordable, although e.l.f. is like, I don't want to support e.l.f. at this time. So I'm trying to find like another like more affordable gripping primer, just because like primer's not a category I get excited about any longer. It used to be like one of my favorite categories to test and try, and now I'm just like, just give me something that's gonna be like super glue on my face. I don't want to spend like $30 on a gripping primer. Like I'd rather spend $10 on a gripping primer that works and then like save the other dollars for like other makeup. Speaking of e.l.f., I did purchase the Power Grip Primer with 4% niacinamide this year, and I also used this up this year. I do feel like I go through the e.l.f. gripping primers a little bit quicker than other primers, but it's literally $10. I used up the niacinamide last year. I prefer this one to the Power Grip that's just like the blue consistency. I don't know why I like this one better. My favorite is the e.l.f. Jelly Pop, but that usually comes in like limited rounds. So purchase this, use this. Don't want to say I would buy this again because again, I just don't care to support e.l.f. right now, but also we got a baby on the way, so like I do need to be saving some money. I am hoping that I really like the Maybelline Grippy Primer because I want to say that was like $13. We're gonna see how that goes. Anyway, I finished that this year. And then speaking of the e.l.f. Jelly Pop Dew Primer, I also finished this. They did re-release this primer this summer and I purchased another one, so I do still have that one going in my collection. I enjoy the e.l.f. one so much that I literally like cut the packaging open so I can get every last ounce of this out. I do find the e.l.f. primers to be sticky like glue. Like, I don't think they're going to be for everyone. It is a really interesting texture. It's extremely sticky, but I really do feel like it makes such a difference in the longevity of my makeup application. So I do really enjoy the e.l.f. primers. A primer I did not enjoy, and I actually ended up using this more as like a hand cream or a lotion, was the Merit Great Skin Priming Moisturizer. They did send this one to me, and I just did not enjoy this. First of all, again, I'm not really looking for moisture out of my primer, and I felt like this almost felt like a body cream you were putting on your face. Like, it just wasn't the most, it felt a little bit heavy on the skin. And every time you'd use this, the like primer would dry out into this. So you'd get like one of those like crusty like boogers, if you will, every time I tried to use this. It just was not a favorite of mine. I definitely would not be seeking to purchase this, and I honestly would not recommend this either. I did also finish the iconic London Underglow Blurring Primer this year. I thought that this was a beautiful primer. This is another one I enjoyed reaching for on days that I was maybe just doing like brows, eyeliner, and mascara. It did offer a beautiful blur to the skin and sort of like a soft lip glow. I definitely enjoyed this a lot more when I first started using this. I thought this was going to be something that was always in my collection, but through consistent use, through having this in a project pan, I just realized it's not the primer for me. My preferences have changed in terms of what I'm looking for in a primer, and so this is not something I was seeking out to buy again. If you like a blurring primer, I honestly would recommend like the Tarte Timeless Smoothing Primer if you're looking for something like pore filling, because that's also going to blur the skin. I don't know that I would recommend this. Like, this is a fine product, but I also think this is like $32. I feel like there's better primers on the market, personally. This primer I also really enjoyed, but I just think it's way overpriced for what it is. It's the One Size Secure the Glow Tacky Hydrating Primer. I liked this because I did find it to be tacky and gripping while still also feeling hydrating. So it was a really nice kind of luxurious experience in that manner. But I believe, I don't know if this is like in the mid 30s or possibly even over $40. And I'm just like, I do not want to be spending $40 on a primer. Do not want to be spending $40 on a primer. And I don't think you need to spend $40 on a primer. if this is something that's been on your radar and you're looking to spend that amount on a primer, if you like something that feels hydrating but is still tacky, I do really think this is an excellent product. I just want to spend my money in other places. And then finally, I have the Danessa Myricks Yummy Skin Glow Serum. This is something I really enjoyed, but through consistent use, I found that this was breaking me out. So unfortunately, this is not something I am seeking to buy again. What I loved about this is it did feel really light on the skin. This was more of just like a glowy hydrating primer. Not necessarily what I'm looking for in a primer, but it did just feel really luxe and look beautiful on the skin. I just found that it broke me out, and therefore I personally would not buy. It did give a really beautiful glow though, which I do love glowy skin. Moving on to foundation, I'm also slightly surprised as to my foundation empties only having 4. I'd be really curious. I didn't like reference years past before filming this, but I feel like I usually have like at least 6 to 7 foundation empties. So 4 just does not feel like a lot at all. And it's so funny. I'm like, I don't even remember panning the Tarte Shape Tape Cloud Coverage foundation this year. This is obviously not something that I was seeking to repurchase. If I'm remembering correctly, this is something I wasn't loving, and then through consistent use, I actually almost bought this again. And then I was like, no, I'm not gonna do that, because there were moments where I really just didn't love the way that this looked on my skin. Nothing remarkable, because I really don't remember a whole lot about this. So I don't have a recommendation for this. I feel like what I remember though is that I felt like it just kind of looked makeup-y on my skin. I will say I've gotten really picky as I am in my mid-30s now. Like, I'm like really picking apart my skin. I'm like, girl. Anyway, these are my 2 most recent empties, and I can't believe I actually finished this before the end of the year. So I was working on my Oma by Sharon C, the Oma Flawless IRL foundation earlier this year. It was too dark for me, so then I ended up mixing in my Tula Radiant Skin Brightening Serum Skin Tint and had basically a full foundation of these 2. Stopped self-tanning when I found out I was pregnant because I didn't have the energy for anything. And now I'm like, I've got so much surface area to cover. I'm like, it's not worth it. We're gonna get out there in the sun this summer. We'll be self-tanning once baby has arrived, but no need before then. I'm just like, I can barely look at myself in the mirror. Pregnancy is not my thing, but that's not what we're talking about right now. What were we talking about? Oh, mix these 2 together. Oh, in order to finish this up, I ended up having to mix this with my Charlotte Tilbury concealer every day as well, because that's really, really light. And then I was also doing a pump of the Glossier Future Dew, and I was really enjoying that combination. And so we did finish these 2 off. I can't imagine if I didn't finish these 2 off, I would have only had 2 foundation empties this year, which is actually wild for me. I do have way too many foundations in my collection. I love to test and try foundations. And I also have another foundation that is so close to being done. Like, I think I will also have a foundation empty in January. I should have a good January recap in terms of empties. There's a couple other lingering foundations throughout my collection that I definitely think I could finish the first half of the year. So again, who knows what 2026 will bring, but I have a feeling we're gonna have a better foundation empties here next year. The final foundation empty I have for 2025 was the Laura Mercier Real Flawless Weightless Perfecting Foundation. What's so funny about this foundation is I almost decluttered this. I did not like this when I first started using it, but I was definitely over applying this and overusing it and just like putting too much foundation on right away. The smallest amount of this goes the longest way. It's so lightweight and serum-like on the skin, but provides such beautiful coverage. I ended up loving this foundation so much that the day that I emptied this out, I literally wore that face of makeup with this foundation to Ulta to repurchase this because I love the foundation so much and did not want to be without this. I highly recommend this. Again, if I didn't mention, I do have dry aging skin, and I feel like this is one that really does a nice job of blurring out my imperfections. It doesn't settle into like every crease and crinkle that I have in my skin, and I feel very confident when I wear this one. I don't know why I'm even trying to wear this off the shoulder. It technically is not an off the shoulder thing, but I just feel like it looks a little better off the shoulder. I'm actually wearing, it's like a set. I'll pop it right here. Anything to be cozy and comfy these days. All right, for concealer, I'm actually really proud of my concealer empties. I have 3, and one of them I would buy again. So the one that I would buy again is the NYX Bare With Me Concealer Serum. This is such a nice concealer. It provides beautiful coverage underneath the eyes. I would say medium to full coverage. My only complaint with this is I don't love the pump on this. Even like a 1/4 of a pump is like a little bit too much. I would personally prefer a doe foot applicator on this, but I believe you can get this for under $10 at the drugstore, and it seriously competes with my high-end concealers. It has that beautiful like serum-like radiance to it that just looks like hydrating underneath the eyes. My under eyes have been something that I am just so self-conscious of lately, and I kind of miss having this in my collection. I'm also really close to finishing a concealer. I think I might have a concealer empty in January. And I think if I finished one more concealer, I would buy this one again. I'd be down to 5 concealers. Maybe I'd like to finish 2 concealers before buying again, but I do anticipate the NYX will find its way back into my collection in 2026. And then the other 2 concealer empties I have the Tower 28 concealer. This I enjoyed. It was a nice lighter weight concealer. I actually personally would recommend the NYX over the Tower 28. I find the texture to be quite similar, the finish to be quite similar, and in fact I actually think the NYX provides a little bit more coverage than the Tower 28, and I personally think that the NYX is a better concealer than the Tower 28. I know so many people love the Tower 28. I'm not saying I don't like this, but it wasn't something that once I finished I was itching to go purchase again. So personally I would just recommend the NYX over the Tower 28. And then I did also finish up the LYS Triple Fix Full Coverage Brightening Concealer. This is one I really enjoyed for such a long time. It was one of my oldest concealers in my collection though, so I am really happy that I have finished this up and moved this out. It is another one that I really enjoyed my time with, but I wasn't itching to go repurchase. Again, I prefer the NYX over the LYS. I feel like they give similar finishes underneath the eyes, but the NYX is just so much less expensive. So those are my 3 concealer empties. And then I did have 1 color corrector empty as well. This is the e.l.f. color corrector in Peach. I enjoyed this, but I feel like I went through this way too quickly. I'm not exactly sure how much product you get in this. Does it say point? Oh my gosh. Are my eyes gonna work? I think 0.09 fluid ounces. You don't get a lot of product in this. I have really enjoyed the Bobbi Brown corrector. That is the corrector that I have been using, but I haven't really been using a corrector as much lately. I should get back to using a corrector. Maybe that's why I haven't been enjoying my under eyes. But I also really like the NYX Pro Fix Stick under eye color corrector, and that one lasts a lot longer than the e.l.f. as well. I'm not opposed to buying the e.l.f. again. I just like flew through this one. So I have 3 powder empties. All 3 of my powder empties are pressed powders. I'm gonna start with my Kosas just because I speak so highly of this. You guys, if you've watched my channel for any length of time, you know I love my Kosas Cloud Set powder. This is my 2nd one I've gone through. I had already purchased a backup, so I'm already working on my 3rd one of these. Yes, the components, like Kosas, gotta figure out your packaging. We pay enough for your products. You can do better. You can do better. Every Kosas product I have, I swear my component breaks in some way. So be warned of that. It is highly annoying. But I love this pressed powder because I have dry skin. What I typically look for in a powder is that my skin still looks like skin. Like it still has like a health to it, a glow to it. And I just find this does such a nice job of locking my makeup in, making my makeup last longer throughout the day, but my skin still looks like skin. I don't want my face to look totally matte. I don't want my face to look totally flat. I don't want my face to look like chalky. I just want my skin to look like skin, but I want it to be locked into place. And that is what I love the Kosas Cloud Set powder for. It's light, it's airy, it's breathable. Highly recommend this, especially if you're a dry skin girly who likes a healthy glow to the skin. If you are someone who likes full coverage matte, like this probably isn't going to be the powder for you, but if you like little skin like glow, highly recommend that. I also finished up a little deluxe size of the Bare Minerals Barepro 16-hour skin perfecting powder. I think they've reformulated this. I think it's now like 24 hours. I enjoy this. I believe it is a powder foundation as opposed to like an actual pressed powder. I like it as a powder foundation, and when I like to reach for the Bare Minerals pressed powder foundations most are on days that I'm reaching for a tinted moisturizer and I want to lock that in or maybe get a little bit more coverage out of my tinted moisturizer. I do have another Bare Minerals 24-hour wear powder that I have in my collection. They did send that one to me. It is something I would potentially buy again. I do like the Bare Minerals. I also like the Fenty Beauty powder foundation. I reach for like my Kosas so much more that I think it'll take me well over a year to even get through my other Bare Minerals. If you like a powder foundation, honestly, Bare Minerals is excellent. And then finally, another trying to speak. I swear I almost said foundation. Okay, another powder. If you're a dry skin girly who likes your skin to still have like a healthy skin like glow, to still like feel like skin, the Covergirl Clean Fresh is an excellent powder. Yes, I finished mine and I did not go back to repurchase. I do personally like the Kosas just a little bit more, to the point where I'm willing to pay a little bit more for the Kosas. I also feel like the Kosas lasts a little bit longer. I just think the Kosas is slightly more blurring and slightly less powdery. That's not to say this looks powdery on the skin. And again, I think this is an excellent drugstore powder. When I first purchased this, I actually dropped mine and broke it. I think this was back in like 2021. And I went out that same day to buy this powder again because I loved it that much. And now that I'm like talking about this, I'm like, a part of me like really wants to buy and try this again. No, though. I have way too many powders in my collection. It's a good powder. Highly recommend, again, if you are a dry skin girly looking to lock that makeup down, but also wanting your skin to still shine through. I'm going to talk about setting sprays next. I have 6 setting spray empties, which I feel like is pretty common. I feel like I have anywhere from like maybe 5 to 8 in a year. I love to mist my face, like love to mist the face, love to be refreshed. I use a lot of spray, like more than one needs to use, but I like need to use it. Anyway, I have actually 4 powders, not powders, 4 setting sprays that I bought and finished this year. So more than half of what are actually empties are sprays that I bought this year and finished this year. Okay, I feel like that's an accomplishment. So up first, I have the Pixie Glow Mist. I purchased 2 of these this year and finished both. I bought one in January. I just, the older I get, the more I want my skin to glow. If my skin is not glowy, I feel like my skin looks so much older if it doesn't have a glow and a shine to it. So I personally love glow. So Pixie Glow Mist, I've gone through several bottles of these. I think at least 6 now in my lifetime. I have discovered the One Size Glass Melt Spray, and I think that is such a beautiful, magical spray. I know it's more expensive than the Pixie Glow Mist. The one thing with the Pixie Glow Mist is you can go overboard to the point where like you look a little too glowy, you look a little greasy. Where I have not had that issue with the One Size Powder Melt. Therefore, I am now willing to pay a little bit more for the One Size Powder Melt. So I won't say I won't ever purchase the Pixie Glow Mist again, but I won't seek it out like I did. If you are looking for something that is less than $30 and going to offer you high shine, but a beautiful glow, I do recommend the Pixie Glow Mist. Again, I've gone through several bottles in my lifetime. I did find the Evian facial spray at TJ Maxx, and for some reason this is something that's been on my radar to purchase for such a long time, and I thought it was such a score that I got this for $6. This is literally just canned water in an aerosol can. Why did I need this? I definitely would not buy this again. Do not recommend, especially at full price, which I believe is $22 for a smaller bottle even, I think. That's crazy. Just buy a spritz bottle and fill it with tap water. The other 2 sprays I bought this year and finished this year, I have the MAC Fix Plus. Love this. but will use the one size in the future. The one size, the MAC Fix Plus, I love for like melting my powders in the middle of like my makeup application. Like maybe I'm feeling a little too powdery, maybe I just want things to kind of mesh together just a little bit more. MAC Fix Plus has been my go-through. I can't even tell you how many bottles of MAC Fix Plus I've gone through. One size does the same for me and just gives a little bit more of like this glassy veil to the skin, which I love. Again, I won't say like I will never buy MAC Fix Plus again, because if it's on sale for half off Ulta 21 Days of Beauty, like I probably will buy it again. But I bought 2 of these during Ulta 21 Days of Beauty this year, and I did finish one of them up. And then the final one that I bought this year, finished this year, was the One Size Until Dawn Mattifying Waterproof Setting Spray. I bought this for a trip this year because I wanted to lock the makeup in all day and night, and it worked so well for that. I absolutely would buy this again, but likely like only for a trip again. I can't see myself like going to like a rager like just in my everyday life here in Minnesota. Maybe next summer I would like buy this for like I'm gonna do so much patio drinking to make up for this past year. Like I literally cannot wait for my first spicy margarita on a patio. So maybe I'll get this for patio season, because we want to lock it in. But this isn't something that I would like use every single day. It is a bit drying for my dry skin, and I would layer this with other glowy products. Therefore, like I don't need to be locking my makeup in for 24 hours for work. So I don't need this for every day, but I would buy it for patio season and for vacation. And then finally, I did finish up the Benefit the Professional Super Setter. For an everyday setting spray to lock the makeup in, this is my #1. For some reason, I like struggled to get myself to buy it at full price. I definitely want it to go on sale at Ulta 21 Days of Beauty. And I do have a couple other like makeup setting sprays right now, like the Urban Decay All Nighter, that I can be working through while I, fingers crossed, hope for this to be on sale during the next Ulta 21 Days of Beauty. But if it's not and I work my way through my other sprays, I definitely would buy this at full price. I remember going to the state fair one year and I wore the Dior foundation, Dior Forever foundation, and I used this setting spray, and it was literally raining that day and my makeup was still on while we were out in the rain. I even had like some of my coworkers be like, what magic is on your face that like your face isn't dripping off in the rain? So I think this makes such a big difference, and it doesn't dry my skin out, which is the most important thing to me. So again, if you're a dry skin girly, I highly recommend this. Okay, actually a really proud accomplishment for this year is the fact that I have 2 blush, 2 bronzer, and 2 highlight empties. Like I genuinely don't know that has ever been the case ever, and I'm really excited about that. So let's start with my bronzer empties. After so many years of trying to finish the Nabla Skin Bronzing in the shade Ambra, finally did it. It feels like eons ago that I emptied this out and finished this up. Like it literally doesn't feel like I finished this in 2025. I loved this bronzer, and then I got burnt out with this bronzer, but I will say I am missing this bronzer because I do like a bit of a glow to the skin, and this bronzer had a beautiful like sheen to it. I'm definitely considering picking this up again. I talked about potentially doing like a full face of Nabla. I want to do some full faces of specific brands this year, and Nabla is definitely a brand that I'm interested in just because I used to love Nabla so much. Haven't really tried a lot from them recently, but it's definitely a brand I'm still curious about. And I just thought this was such a beautiful formula. It was a Baked Gelée formula, and it just gave the most beautiful finish to the skin. So proud of myself for finishing this because it took freaking ever. Then I have my Rare Beauty bronzing stick, which I'm so happy to have finished up. I will say I don't love this formula as much as so many others. I found that it was slightly difficult to blend out, and maybe just like a little bit more pigmented than I would typically prefer. There's just other cream bronzers I prefer over this one, although the convenience of a stick bronzer is really, really nice. So I did like it for that reason. Not something I've seeked out to repurchase. I wouldn't not recommend this, but I also just, this wasn't my favorite, so it wouldn't be like something I'm like shouting out at the rooftops to like go purchase. It was a fine product. For my 2 blush empties, I finally finished up the Bite Beauty Melon Mojito blush. You can't even get this anymore, so I'm not gonna say a lot about this. I'm just so happy to have a liquid blush empty. I literally can't even believe it. And then a blush that I thoroughly enjoyed finishing up and using up and would buy again and almost did buy again. But I went with a different blush formula just to try something different. I have the Say Dewy Blush in the shade Baby. I personally really love the Say Dewy Blush formula. I find it to be extremely easy to work with. And again, I love a glow to the skin, so I love the kind of glossiness that it gives to the cheeks. It's something I feel like you can really sheer out or you can build up, and it's just a formula that works so well for me. I loved this so much that I ended up taking the stopper out of this, and I loved the shade Baby because it was a beautiful, frosty, cool toned pink shade. Could definitely see myself picking up this shade in the future. I loved this so much. And then to wrap it up, I have two highlighter empties. So I have the Westman Atelier highlighter in the shade Nectar, the lit up stick. When I first bought this, I think I was gaslighting myself into believing that I loved this because it was such a bougie, expensive product. It was beautiful and glossy and glowy on the cheeks, but it was that formula that doesn't set down and it stays sticky, and your hair would just stick to it, and there was just never really a good time to wear it. So I liked the way that it looked, but in terms of functionality, it's just like, I'm not about my hair sticking to my cheeks personally, and it's such an expensive product that personally I just don't I don't recommend this. I probably have recommended this before because it really is beautiful, but girl, we don't need our hair sticking to our cheeks. A highlighter I absolutely loved. Definitely will miss this and will consider purchasing again, but I just want to work my way through some of my other liquid highlights specifically, is the Rose Inc Cream Highlighter, specifically in the shade Opalescent, which was this really, really beautiful, cool toned pink highlight. This is so freaking gorgeous, so gorgeous on the cheeks. Gives the most beautiful glass-like shine to the cheeks that just, oh, it's so pretty. The one thing with Rose Inc is some of their products do kind of like dry out and you have to warm them up to the touch to get them to like be usable again. I found that with the bronzer specifically, and actually I did find that with this product when I was first using it, but then because I was using it so consistently, I did not have that issue, and this is an old product in my collection. So just pointing that out, just putting that out there. When I was consistently using this, I wasn't getting that sort of like dry texture on the top that I was having to like warm up with my finger before using. And I mostly actually ended up using this with a brush to apply as opposed to my finger. Is such a beautiful highlight. I miss it so much already. Moving on to eyeliner, I have three and they are all liquid liners. I tried my darndest to finish my Ilia eyeliner in the shade Dusk, but that didn't happen this year, so we just have three eyeliner empties. The only one that I would buy again is the Hindash liquid liner. This is my favorite liquid liner I have ever used. I love the brush tip applicator on this. It comes to such a fine, precise point. It just works so well to line my upper lash line, which is what I mostly use liquid liner for. I'm not a big like wing girly, although I did do wings with this a couple of times and did find that it was an easier formula for me to work with and actually create a wing. I know sometimes it's hard to get Hindash products. I did see this was available on Beautylish again, but I'm trying to work my way through. I have 2 or 3 other black liquid liners in my collection, and I was like, I should work my way through those before buying this again. But by far, this is the best black liquid liner I have ever used. It's, I think, $26, and I think it is worth spending the money on just because it works so well. It's such a precise, thin applicator. I love this. And then I do have the 2 Lawless Easy Eyes Ultra Precise liquid liners. I have Cocoa and Caviar, so a black and a brown. Lawless did send these to me. These were fine. I enjoyed using them. I have no complaints, except for my black one did start to fray a little bit. I don't know if you'll be able to tell at all. Not my personal favorite. Not something that I personally love, but I was able to kind of work around it. I don't know that you can get these anymore. The other day I was trying to link them and it didn't seem like they were available, although it did say coming soon on the Lawless website. Regardless, I like the Hindash one, so I would just buy the Hindash. And in terms of a brown liquid liner, I do love the Fenty Trace Out's the lip liner. I like the Fenty Fly Liner in Big Truffle for a brown. liquid liner. I have 2 eyeshadow primers I finished up. The NYX glitter glue, favorite glitter glue, have already repurchased. Highly recommend. $6. Literally glue for your eyes that makes your shimmers pop more, makes your shimmers last longer, make your eyeshadow, like your shimmers, crease less. I have gone through several tubes of this. It's truly my favorite. And then I did also finish up the NARS Smudge Proof Eyeshadow Base. This was my second one that I've gone through. I enjoyed this, but I really enjoy the Ulta Longwear Matte Eyeshadow Primer. That has some pigment to it that just, I actually have it on today. I have on one shadow today too. It has pigment to it that just kind of like cancels out all of the like blue veins in my eyes and just works better for me than this. It also is definitely stickier, and I just prefer the Ulta one, which is $13. The NARS one I believe is $32, and the NARS one like is kind of hard to find in stock. So I personally would just recommend the Ulta over this. The only thing is the Ulta, again, is pigmented. I don't know if they have other shades. The NYX one though is like a white. I don't know. The NYX is fine, but I definitely, like, my time has come to an end with this one. I wouldn't buy it again. I would just buy a more affordable eyeshadow primer in the Ulta one, which is less than half the price. And personally, I don't find eyeshadow primer to be like an exciting purchase, so I'm glad I found a less expensive alternative. I have 9 mascara empties. I'm just gonna kind of rapid fire through these. I will say with mascara, I usually have 2 or 3 open at a time. I do like to layer my mascaras and kind of cocktail my mascaras to be like my perfect situation, although my eyelashes have been kind of like bleak lately. And mascaras, I typically do anywhere from 3 to 6 months. I don't push it past 6 months, and even if it's like still going, I consider it an empty. So I know 9 mascara empties is a lot. I'm just gonna rapid fire through these. The e.l.f. Incredicurl, way too much of a wet formula. This is just way too wet. Like, wet is good sometimes, but this, and it like never dried out. Even like to the 6-month point, like it just never dried out. Did not enjoy this, would not buy again. The Ilia Limitless mascara is like my top favorite mascara of all time. Would buy again. The e.l.f. Lash Extender, I really like. I believe this is a tubing mascara. I've gone on to purchase several tubes of this. I think this is a really nice mascara, although now I'm like, it's e.l.f. though, so I don't know if I would repurchase. I do love my Ilia Limitless and my Rare Beauty, so I think I have 1 more of these in backup, and then we'll see what's happening with e.l.f. The Clio Kill Lash, I absolutely hate it. I felt like this did nothing for my lashes other than like coated them with something that didn't necessarily give them length, volume, or curl, and then was like super glue to remove. Like it just like wouldn't come off, and it made my eyelashes super crunchy and crispy, but like also didn't make me look like I had lashes. Would not buy again. The YSL Lash Clash, I actually really enjoyed. I thought this was excellent for volume. I would not spend like upwards of like $20 or $30 on a mascara though. If I could get this free gift with purchase, would definitely choose to get it that way. Or if it was like 13 or under for the deluxe size, then yes, I would buy this in a deluxe size. Really enjoyed it. Mascara, like I don't want to spend so much on mascara, you know? I also really loved the Lancome Lash Idole mascara. This was excellent, especially for like a curl. I really enjoy the wand on this one. Again, I don't want to spend a lot on mascara, but if this was available during like Ulta 21 Days of Beauty, or if the deluxe size is like 13 or under, I would buy it for that. The Rose Ink, I did actually really like this one. I like the wand on this one, and this definitely gives more of a natural sort of finish to the lash, but on days that I was just doing like brows and lashes, or brows and mascara, this was really beautiful for that. Not something I would go seek out to buy again, because typically I am looking for more volume, but I did really enjoy using this one. And then finally, I have the Blinc Lash Extension Tubing Mascara. I literally remember nothing about this mascara, so clearly nothing remarkable and nothing I can really recommend to you. Brows, I feel like I have so many brow products I entered this year, but 3 of them are the Glossier Boy Arch, which literally take less than a month to go through. I love this brow pencil, like my favorite brow pencil, but because this is, you get like literally no product in this, like I can't justify buying this or even recommending it. Glossier did send me all of these, so I used as many as I could. I have cool brown, warm brown, and then cool something brown. There is just something about this, the shape of this and this formula that worked so well for me. But again, literally from start to finish, less than a month of use. Unacceptable, honestly. I have the NYX Brow Glue. This is my second NYX Brow Glue that I have finished. I enjoy this, but I did find this to be heavier than I remember the second go at it. And so I didn't immediately go out and repurchase this. Right now I'm working my way through the ABH Brow Freeze, which I have been enjoying. I'm not saying I'll never return to this because I don't think brow like glues or like brow holders are like the most exciting thing to spend your money on in terms of like my makeup routine. But also I do kind of want to explore other things just because I didn't love this as much the second time through. I also have the Glossier Boy Brow in dark brown, which is a tinted brow gel. I've gone through one other Glossier Boy Brow in my lifetime. This is a fine tinted brow gel, not my favorite. I again found it to be a little bit heavy and a little bit thick, whereas I'm not always looking for something so thick. Right now I'm using the Milk Makeup, which is also kind of thick. Anyway, purchased one of these on my own and I really loved it, but I didn't go on to repurchase it. And then Glossier did send a bunch of these over, so I actually do have quite a few of these kind of like in backup. I would rather try other things than buy this again, like if this was my last one and I didn't have any in backup. The thing that makes me most sad as an empty in this is this from Undone Beauty. This was the like brow duo and I had dark brown. So one side was a brow marker, which I really didn't use much at all, and the other side was my favorite tinted brow gel of all time. I love the wand on this. It's super thin, but the tint, it was literally the most perfect product ever. I loved this tinted brow gel. I scraped every last little bit of this out that I could. I probably used this well past when there was actually even product in it, and I'm just so sad. Like I have searched high and low for this product and I can't find it. If you guys have other tinted brow gel recommendations, let me know. I have the NYX Micro Brow Pencil. I've gone through several of these in the past, and in fact, after I finished this, I went and bought another one because I've kind of been into a brow pencil again, and I've really been loving the NYX Micro Brow. It is a more affordable brow pencil, which you go through brow pencils pretty quickly, so I'm looking for something that's definitely under $15. I want to say this is like 10 or under. I specifically have the shade Chocolate, which works really well for me. And then finally, I have the ABH Clear Brow Gel, which I have gone through. I will say this clear brow gel was not what I remember the ABH Clear Brow Gel being. It wasn't quite as like crispy and not quite as stronghold, although now I'm using the ABH Brow Freeze, and that's crispy and stronghold, and I actually kind of like it. I'm like, can you get both the clear brow gel and the brow freeze, or is it just the brow freeze right now? I'm a little confused on that. I would buy the brow freeze again in the future if I could choose between the two. All right, and then ending with all of my lip product empties, I have one lip scrub. I finished my Kopari Coconut Lip Scrubby. Would not buy again. I do not use a lip exfoliant, so I don't need a product like this. I don't know why I thought I did, but I definitely do not. And this was so old in my collection, so I'm so glad to have this as an empty. For lip liner empties, I have two. I have the Colourpop Golden Beach lip liner, which I worked on for several years before finishing. I liked the shade of this. I just would never buy a Colourpop lip liner again because the component is so terrible, and the pencil literally within the first like 6 months starts to dry out and then fall out of the component. So I could not recommend the Colourpop lip liners personally. Then I also finished the Vive Velvet Sands lip liner. I really enjoyed this. I really loved the shade of this. It was such a beautiful nude, and what I loved about this formula is while it was slightly stiff and sticky to apply, I did feel like it was very long lasting. I do have so many lip liners right now. I definitely don't need to be buying any more lip liner, but this is definitely something I would consider buying again, specifically in this shade and potentially other shades, just because I feel like there's so many other beautiful nude shades. So next time I place an order for the tinted moisturizer, I forget what it's called right now. I definitely would consider picking up a couple more lip liner shades. Then I have 2 liquid lipstick empties, which is really exciting. I honestly don't know if I've ever finished a liquid lipstick, maybe one last year, but I did finish up the Dose of Colors Lazy Daisy liquid lipstick. I don't believe you can get this shade anymore, which makes me so sad because this was like the perfect pink nude. I absolutely loved this and I miss this so much. I've been on the hunt for a dupe for this, so if you have a recommendation, if you know this shade, let me know down below, because I have not been able to find something that perfectly matches like what this was for me, and I just truly miss this so much. And then something I don't miss quite as much is the Rare Beauty Matte Lip Cream in Fearless. I don't even think they make this formula anymore. It was like a moussey matte texture. It wasn't super drying on the lips, but it also wasn't something that like totally set down. I would almost describe it as like a velvet souffle sort of texture, and it was fine. It was a pretty shade, but if I'm going to be reaching for a formula like this, I'd rather have something that like does truly set down and almost like stains the lips. I don't know. I prefer the Dose of Colors liquid lipstick formula or several other true liquid lipsticks to this formula. So even if I could get this again, I would not seek this out to repurchase. I have 3 lip oil empties. I do enjoy lip oils, but I definitely prefer a gloss or a balm over an oil. So I did finish both of my Too Faced Kissing lip jellies. I had Bubblegum and Sour Watermelon. Sour Watermelon was a sheer shade, like a sheer orange that truly just looked sheer on the lips. And then Bubblegum Pink was this really beautiful sparkly pink. I would buy Bubblegum Pink again. Although I will say I love the Polite Society like Peach Bellini gloss. So actually I probably wouldn't buy this again because Peach Bellini gives me everything that this also gave me. And you get more in Peach Bellini and it lasts longer. I really enjoyed this formula. It was like the perfect combination or like mix of a lip oil and a lip gloss hybrid. However, I will say I did purchase another shade of this earlier this year, and it does have a sparkle to it, and the sparkle has a bit of a grit to it. I didn't notice that with the Bubblegum shade. I felt like it was a completely smooth gloss. So I was really disappointed that there was that kind of gritty, almost itchy texture in the shade that I bought this year. So once I finished that, I don't necessarily know that I would buy again. If I were to buy this again, it would be in the shade Bubblegum Pink. And then finally, I did finish up the Clarins Lip Oil in the shade Apricot. I love the Clarins Lip Oil. It is probably my favorite lip oil formula. It is lush like an oil, but also more long lasting and not quite as thin as most other lip oil formulas. I would be most interested in buying the pH changing color. My daughter and I tried that around her birthday, and I thought that the shade was just really pretty. I do currently have one other Clarins lip oil in my collection. I do think the Clarins Lip Oil I would always have at least one going at a time. I really enjoy reaching for this formula specifically in the summertime. It feels a little bit more lightweight on the lips, specifically for like beach days and things like that. It is a pricey formula, but I do really like it, and I do recommend. I have been using this for years, and I've gone through several tubes. I would say 5 or 6 at this point, possibly even more. I have 5 lip glosses. 3 of them are Lawless Forget the Fillers, which is my favorite gloss formula of all time. I will say I don't love the Lawless minis. The doe foot, like the experience with the doe foot just is not the same, so I would not recommend the Lawless minis. I feel like part of the experience of the Lawless Forget the Filler is the way that the doe foot applicator kind of hugs your lips and just like evenly spreads it to give you this like lush, plush, plump like look to the lips. You guys know, if you're longtime subscribers, this has been my favorite gloss formula since 2021. The 2 shades I finished this year were Cherry Vanilla, which I believe I have finished a Cherry Vanilla in the past. It is a really beautiful, just sheer red. I have the jumbo right now. I definitely would buy this shade again. And then I also have Lavender Sorbet, which I do like, but I like Velvet more, especially for like a Your Lips but better sort of shade. So I don't necessarily know that I would buy Velvet again, but I did really enjoy reaching for that one. And then the other 2 gloss empties I have, it feels like ages ago that I finished the iconic London lip gloss. This gloss just like would not quit. It took me forever to finish. By the time I finished it, I was really loving this gloss. I specifically loved it layered over the Dose of Colors Lazy Daisy. I have the shade Love Struck. It was such a beautiful milky nude, but because it took me so long, I was like, I don't know if I want to go out and buy this again. I have so many other glosses to get through in my collection. I just did my inventory. I have 63 glosses, and to know that I only finished up 5 lip glosses this year makes me a little bit nervous about my gloss formula collection, but I won't say that I would never buy this again. The doe foot on this is annoying because it is quite bendy, and so just the experience to apply it was really annoying. I did take the stopper out, by the way. But the actual like look to the lips, the like milky plump look to the lips, I really enjoyed. And then I did also finish up the Becca Glow Gloss. You can't get this anymore, but I'm glad because it was a thicker gloss formula. Took forever to get through, and I was just so happy to empty this out and be done with it. And then to end this empties, I have 9 lip balm / lip mask empties. So I did finish up a little mini of the Laneige lip sleeping mask. I am so close to being done with 2 Laneige lip sleeping masks, kind of 2.5. I'm like halfway through another, but I only finished up 1 mini this year. I have so many Laneige lip sleeping masks. Me and my daughter collect them, but then we have way too many open at a time, so it's been a journey to empty them out. But I think by halfway through this year, I should have at least 3 Laneige lip sleeping masks emptied out, which will be really exciting. And then I did finish the Lawless Forget the Filler Overnight Lip Plumping Mask. They did send this to me. I actually really enjoyed this. This took quite a long time to get through. The packaging is quite deceiving, and I loved this as a lip prep step because it did a really nice job of plumping the lips, gave that sort of like minty plumping sensation, but it felt really hydrating on the lips. I do have a backup of this that Lawless did send to me, but this is something that when I finish that backup, I would buy this again because I enjoy it so much as like a lip prep mask, and I think it's perfect for that. I would recommend. It's like the most interesting mask I've ever used because it is plumping but still feels nourishing and hydrating. It's the most bizarre thing. I did finish up 2 of my favorite lip treatment, which is the Henriksen Pout Preserve. I was so close to finishing up a 3rd, but then I lost it, then I found it. So I have another empty coming for that, again, probably by the end of January. January is going to be a good empties month. But I finished up the original, which had a citrusy sort of scent and kind of chemical taste, and then also Creme Brulee, again kind of a nice scent but had a very chemical taste to it. You have to be really careful with the Henriksen Pout Preserves because some of them have a very chemical taste to them, which can be extremely off-putting. The blood orange is by far the worst that I've tried. I love this lip treatment though because it is the perfect hybrid between a gloss and a lip treatment. It's glossy like a gloss, so you can wear it like a gloss day to day, but it feels so nourishing and really does condition and hydrate the lips like a lip treatment. You guys know I've loved this since I started trying it. I highly recommend. I've clearly gone through 2, and I have 3 others in my collection. 4 others in my collection. Will continue to repurchase and use these. The Kopari Lip Glossy in Clear used to be my favorite lip gloss. I raved about these for several years. I think this is like my 7th or 8th tube that I've gone through, but I like other things now, so I wouldn't recommend. I honestly don't even know if they make the Kopari Lip Glossy anymore. Regardless, wouldn't repurchase, and I would recommend the Henriksen over the Kopari because the Henriksen does actually nourish and condition the lips. I have 2 Summer Fridays empties. I have the Hot Cocoa, and then I have the little birthday gift from this year. The birthday gift was grainy, whereas the Hot Cocoa, I didn't necessarily get that. I will say I personally am more of an Henriksen girl over a Summer Fridays, so unless there was a shade or a scent I really wanted, I wouldn't purchase the Summer Fridays. I know I'm like of the minority in that thought. It's a fine product. It does a nice job of hydrating the lips, but I just think the Henriksen is better, so I'm not like seeking anything out. Again, if there was a shade or a scent I was interested in, I would purchase. I almost bought the set. If they had sold the toasted marshmallow separately this year, I definitely would have bought that. But because you had to buy a set, I opted out of it. Anyway, finished 2 of those. I also finished up a little mini Refi. I did not enjoy this. I would not buy this again. I like the metal applicator because it was cooling on the lips, but I did not enjoy this formula. I found it thick and slightly grainy, and I personally would not purchase or recommend. And then finally, I have the e.l.f. Ride or Die Lip Balm, which I'd had for so long. This is such a thick formula, and I personally would just rather use like the Laneige Lip Sleeping Mask. I would only use this at night because it was such a thick, sticky formula. Okay, my camera battery died. It was so distracting on the lips, and it was pigmented, so it would just kind of like get everywhere, just not attractive, not comfortable. It did a nice job of like actually conditioning or hydrating because it was such a thick product, but just not great. And using it at night, it would like get all over your pillow, and it was sticky, so I really wouldn't even recommend it for that. I honestly don't know if they even sell these anymore, but I would not recommend and personally would not repurchase. And after that, you guys, those are all 73 makeup empties that I finished off in the year of 2025. I would love to know in the comments below how many makeup empties you had this past year. Let a girl know in the comments below. Other than that, thank you so much for sticking around to watch today's video and for supporting me and my channel as you guys always do. I love you guys so much, and I will catch you in my next video. Bye.